Did you know the average American retires with less than $200,000? Yet you could generate over $2,000 a month in income with just $500K. And the right strategy with dividends. This isn't fantasy, it's math, and today I'll show you how. This video was requested for one of the other ones I had done, talking about $500K and could you retire on it. An individual asked if I could run this using a higher dividend yield and use some scenarios there. So this is going to go out to them, and I'm going to show you the same scenario, just instead of having the funds I had in there before, I'm going to show you a couple different funds with higher paying dividends. Now, this isn't financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm not giving you any advice on what you should do to prepare for your retirement. But we're going to look at this. We're going to look at the charts, and we're going to see, can you retire on $500K with higher dividend payments? I'm also going to run it with the average retirement of $200,000 and see what that provides for you. And we'll play with some of the numbers real quick and give you a couple different scenarios with there. Because it's easy for me to get on here and say, hey, the average person retires with $200,000, but if you had $500K, this is what you can produce. That's not realistic for a lot of people, and I understand that. So I want to give you some scenarios using this higher dividend yield on how it can impact you in retirement with the $500K that we typically use, but we're also going to look at the $200K as well. Let's get ready and dive into it. Welcome back to Simply Money, where we turn your financial goals into real life wins. In this video, we're diving into how you can retire on $500,000 using dividend-paying investments. Let's face it, many Americans are underprepared for retirement. Rising costs, market volatility, and longer life expectancy make traditional strategies feel outdated. Pensions are rare, Social Security might not be enough, and relying solely on a 4% withdrawal rule in today's economy is very risky. What people need is steady, reliable income without draining their nest egg. We don't want to erode the NAV of your stocks or your ETF. That's where the dividend strategy can come in. Dividend investing is simple in theory, but powerful in practice. You buy shares of companies or ETFs that share their profits with you, usually every quarter, in the form of cash payments called dividends. Before you turn this off, stay tuned till the end as we look at these different scenarios to whether you can retire. Okay, here we go with the chart. Let's go over some of the basic stuff. The starting portfolio balance, we're going with $500,000. This is, again, very similar to the last one I did, but we're changing the annual dividend yield. The income we're saying we need is $60,000 a year. We're going with an annual rate of return of 4%. I'm going to knock that down actually to 3% because we are using some dividend-heavy ETFs, so they're going to be a little bit lower on the overall return minus the dividends. Because you gotta remember, overall return includes dividends. So when you're reinvesting dividends, you count those obviously, but when you're using and withdrawing those dividends, you can't add that into what your growth rate is. We're going with a smaller annual growth rate. Basically, it's going to match inflation, which is, I think, pretty conservative with the funds I'm using, but I like being conservative. We're going to do this for 40 years. We won't probably look through the whole thing, but in case someone's looking at retiring early or expects to live a long time, we turned yes on for the inflation adjusted with the withdrawals, and everything's adjusted this 3%. The dividend yield we're going with, how I came up with this scenario is mocking using 50% SCHD, which is about a 3.75 yield right now, and JEPQ, which is about 11% yield right now. If you take both of those at 50%, it averages out to a 7.38% yield currently. We're going with the dividend growth CAGR of 2%. JEPQ is probably not going to have much of a CAGR, if any, but it stays consistent, where SCHD is going to have a pretty good CAGR the last 10, 15 years. It's averaged around 10 to 12% growth. Again, being very conservative here, but that's what we're going with. The Social Security amounts I've put in is very conservative. Some people will have much more than this. They're probably thinking, oh my gosh, that's very low. And for other people, they may be thinking, wow, that's great. I just kind of went with around the average and then the spousal benefit for the second person. You can let me know. We can punch in different numbers here as well if there's a scenario you want to see. And we're looking at starting at age 62 for the first spouse and age 64 for the second spouse. And on this scenario, we're doing a 60-year-old retiring starting age. So that's what we have for figures. So you can see here over on this part of the chart, we're looking at age 60. The year we're just using based on my age. You can put whatever year you'll be 60 in there. At the starting portfolio, $500,000 and needing $60,000. That dividend off $500,000 at the 7.35 would give you $36,875 that first year. Obviously, there's no Social Security for either person, so your total income is $36,875. That means you need to withdraw $23,000 or about 4.63% of your portfolio. There wouldn't be any balance for deposit, obviously, because you had to withdraw. And so that leaves an ending balance of $491. As you go down each year, you can see that carries over back over here to age 61. New starting balance. Your income needed has gone up because of inflation. You see that your dividend actually went down a little bit because you had to withdraw some from here. So you have a little bit less. You had to sell off a few shares to make up that difference for your living expense. And again, you can see how this carries over. But let's jump down here. Well, let's start at 62, where the first Social Security kicks in. Again, you can see the starting balance is a little bit lower. Now, this actually went up because you have to remember there's that CAGR, and it's growing as well. So, first year of getting Social Security for spouse one, now your total income is $54,000, means you only have to withdraw $8,705. Again, this is all estimates, very rough overview, but it gives you a high-level overview of what is possible on 500K. And again, this is a 50-50 SCHD JEPQ. I don't recommend that. I would want to be a little more diversified. I'd want to have some of that money in liquid assets like high-yield savings account or CDs. For me, a couple years of income I would want available in case the market really tanks. I don't want to take any out. Like say this first year the market tanked, I don't want to take out $23,000 if the market dropped $100,000 on my portfolio, because this is a big chunk of your portfolio. That's where I'd want to draw that $23,000 from my cash bucket. But that's me. You'll have to make your own decisions on that. And now let's go down here to year 5. You can see we started climbing back up a little bit because we're earning more than we're using. Our income need is now $67,000. And again, on the income, it doesn't just go up like this. That's what your income need shows with inflation adjusted. Some years you may spend what you spent last year or less, even though inflation has gone up. You have to remember that spending, just like the stock market, can kind of go like this. Over long term, it's going to go up. But after a few years, you may start slowing down a little bit. So you don't know, but we just do it on a very linear growth. Same with the stock market return. You don't get your 4% year over year over year. You get 10%, you lose 8%. You gain 2%, you lose 20%. That's just how it works. Again, this is a very rough overview of it. But that is what dividends could do for you. As you can see, it's growing because your portfolio is growing and you're getting that CAGR going. That's what the $500,000 with this 7.38% yield would bring you. And again, this is on $500,000 split 50-50 with SCHD and JEPQ. And here's just a quick overview of what your portfolio would look like over the 40 years. You pretty much peak at 90 years old if you start at 60, so 30 years in. Then it starts going down, and you're still ahead of where you were when you started in this scenario. Let's look at another option here. If you take SPYI and QQQI and you mix those two 50-50, now check this out. You're looking at a 12.9% yield. This gets crazy. Now, again, I definitely don't recommend doing this. These are covered calls, high-yielding ETFs. They can be a great supplement to a portfolio, but I would not want my portfolio 50-50 on QQQI and SPYI. Again, that's me. You're going to have to make your own decision. But see the power of this? Let's just go over here to the chart. You can definitely see you end up way more than you had because this first year we'll just go right there. Your first dividend payment is $64,500. You're actually making, dividend-wise, $4,500 more than you need. So you didn't have to withdraw anything. You can see you're never touching your balance, in theory, in this scenario. And that means not only did you get your $64,500 out, you added extra money and your growth. Now you're getting a nice increase your first year. So your next dividend goes up to $67,000. Now check this out. This is where it gets really good. Go down here to year 5. You're drawing Social Security. Your spouse is drawing Social Security for the first year. Between the dividend, first Social Security, and second Social Security, your income is $99,000. You only need $67,000 based on your projections and inflation. This year, you actually have $31,000 more than you need. So in theory, what you're doing is you're not taking those dividends all out. You're just reinvesting $31,000 of them. Instead of drawing out the $71,000, you're drawing out about $40,000. Then you have your 2 Social Securities, and that gives you your $67,000 income. And so you're adding this into your portfolio balance and growth, and that's where it starts taking off, because you're adding to this year over year. It gives you a little bit more security, especially early on if it does well. And maybe you can increase your cost of living and your, things you want to do. Or maybe you're excited because now you can leave your kids or grandkids more money. And whatever's, your goal in life, this just shows what you're able to do. And I want to show you on this one. Let's just say we had the $200,000 that is average, that the average person retires with. Now, can you retire on this? No. As you can see, your balance drops really fast because you need $60,000 in your total income. That first year is only $25,000, so you have to take out $34,000. That's a 17% withdrawal rate. You're going to go empty bank zero fast. Your 10th year, you're actually in the hole. You could retire for maybe 9 years in that scenario. Now, granted, you may be at $200,000, but you have a pension or your Social Security is much higher than this. That would extend that. Pension could be enough to where that extends it. Maybe you make a $40,000 pension. Maybe you were a teacher or something for 35 years or worked in the government for a long time and you have a nice pension. A lot of retired military have really nice pensions. Then you add this $25,000 dividend. You're never touching this principal and it can grow over years. That's what that can do for you depending on your other income sources. We're going to go back to the $500,000 real quick, and we're going to look still at $60,000, but we're going to take a little different approach. We're going to combine 33% with SCHD, QQQI, and SPYI. And so that averages out to a 9.85% yield. And with all the other numbers being the same, you can see, let's look at this chart, you can see you still do really well. That almost 10% yield is going to get you a really nice retirement at this scenario. Again, these are things to look into, or ways, again, you may want to have some other funds put away in cash, some things for a couple years in case the market turns down, but you don't need $2 million. Now, if you need a $150,000 income each year, yeah, you're going to need that $2 million, or as Susie Orman says, you're going to need $3 million or $5 million to be able to retire. I can tell you what, Susie, I love a lot of what you do, but I don't need $5 million to retire. I absolutely do not. My lifestyle is not that fancy. I don't need a $1 million beach home. Some of the things she talks about, I get it. That's great if that's what you want. But to put that out there that the average person needs, to me, is just misleading. I don't like that. The average person retires with $200,000. So most people aren't thinking, oh, well, I can get to $3 million and I'll be okay. I'll squeak by. That's just not reality. This is just a scenario of what you can do with higher paying dividends. Again, I would do due diligence, research, and maybe use them as supplements to boost up your dividend yields. But be cautious, because high dividend yields can create erosion of your portfolio, of your balance. You have to watch that and be very careful. If you like these scenarios and looking at different numbers, just like this one was requested by a viewer, one of my subscribers, which I appreciate, and here's a little shout out to them. Thank you very much for that suggestion. If you have some particular numbers or type of scenario you want to see, tell me what kind of balance you want, what kind of income you think you'll have, what kind of investments. You don't have to tell me the exact investments, but is it large cap stuff, small cap stuff? Is it international? Is it bonds? Are you conservative or aggressive? Do you want dividends? The more information you give me, the better and closer I can provide a scenario for you. And also, if you know approximately what you think your Social Security, and if you have a partner, what their Social Security would be, and I'd be glad to throw those, rough numbers in there as well to give you as close of a scenario as I can. I appreciate you joining me. If you would, hit that like and subscribe button, share this with others, and make comments. It really helps us get this type of thing out to other people to help them reach their financial independence. And we appreciate it so much. And I hope you enjoy these. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time on Simply Money.